The council realized go nowhere pursued by Greenspan and all Congress life provision into agriculture bill that prevent the CFTC from acting on derivative for 6 months. 6 months, which just happened to the big amount on the time left in both terms as chairman. 3 months later, long-term capital management blew up. It will be hard to overstate the feeling of the terror the LTCM collapse inflicted to the Wall Street. The Russian crisis was taking place at virtually the same time, in that it was the precipitating event that had led to LTCM's problem. The markets were incredibly volatile. The Dow Jones Industrial overtopped points in one day in late August. The fourth latest drop in history, only to again nearly point one day in early September. The fear that the financial crisis having a sweet talk in Asia and Russia when about to hit the United States was palpable. The main reason it didn't was the New York Fed order and the big Wall Street firms to around and insights to the hammer and the rescue plan, and the N14 firm injected equity into the LTCM. Washington was every bit terrified at Wall Street, should have been to the potentially destructive power of derivative had been exposed for the matters and the tools on the modern finance. Excessive leverage, probabilistic risk models, and counterparty exposure had been shown. During a hearing on October 1, 1998, even the Republicans and the Senate Banking Committee fret about whether the LTCM disaster signaled the beginning of another LCL stock crisis. If ever there was a moment when Bob Robin could have used her immense stature to do something about the derivatives problem to the House to publicly spend years worrying about this was it. Even her line the regulator may have followed his lead, but he did nothing on the sort. During the October hearing, Chairman Lay said to the board, "He owe you an apology. One last time, we pleaded with the Congress to grapple with no risks that the over to the counter derivatives market may pose to the USA economy. Even after LTCM, she remained the only administration official willing to talk about the need of government oversight over the derivative business. Although brusquely born signing to her name to the report, she was unhappy with it, feeling that it only reformed the government's laissez-faire attitude toward derivatives. When the White House called and asked and she won a second term, she declined. By June 1919, she had a return to the Arnold and Porter, where she submitted her practice until she retired in 1903. A few weeks after Brown to the left government, so didn't Robin. Robin never spoke to the Brown again after that April 1998 meeting. Immediately after the long-term capital management fiasco, she had reached out to Gary Gensler, the high-ranking official at Treasury. Years later, Robin Defender would claim to the Washburn her nose approach that had him against her. She was too strident, they said, to the legalistic, not differential, in no to the Treasury Secretary. If she had just been more collaborative, say one such defender, Robin may have been her ally. Even so, why should brusquely born a personality of her background had been the deciding factor? Derivative either were a problem or they weren't. Robin either understood the trouble they might someday cause or he didn't. If, he said, He did understand the problem, that allowing his deposition to be pivot on the water and not burn showed him the proper deference would seem in retrospect are pretty serious. The relation of duty. Robert Rubin had spent most of his career affecting a kind of egoless management style. His treatment of bonds, his willingness to put his personal irritation ahead of the important public policy issues to the derivatives pose issues that who wasn't quite egoless and he let on and failed finally to Larry Summers to make sure derivatives could never again to the trained a regulator like a Bruce Lee born. Could not be regulated by the CFTC or any other government regulator. It was the last Bill Clinton signed before leaving office. A year earlier, the president had signed a law to repeal Glass-Steagall, which had supplied commercial from investment banking so many years before. Graham Letts Billy, as the new law was called, also have Summers' strong support. What of is not to the modern finance one a provision that expressly recognized and preserved the authority for the National Bank to engage directly in its set-backed securitization activities, a controller of the current John Dugan was not many years later. In more respect to the repulse, a Glass-Steagall was largely symbolic, a recognition and shame that we already taken place by 1999. All the big banks had investment banks and trading desks, and in any case, the real problem was not that wall that had long separate commercial and investment banks had been torn down, nor was it that the FTC was not allowed to regulate derivatives. Not the core problem was the event of the regulatory refinement was disappearing, nothing was being created to replace. After financial crisis, one man who had worked closely with Robin and Treasury was claimed, "My God, I wish I had done more."